As they walked in, they found Heidi lying on her back in the kitchen, her feet pointed towards the door. She had blood in her hair and on her face.
CSL TV, and I just hope you guys are having a beautiful, blessed day. Now, if you're new to the channel, this is just a review, a reaction, as well as an informational channel. Hopefully the informational part help you and someone out. We just gonna watch some videos and talk about them. And if you've been rocking with me, I just gotta say, I just want to thank you so much for rocking with your boy, because you could be watching somebody else, but you choose to be with the CSL, TV fam. So I just want to say thank you. But as always, I hope everybody is having a beautiful, blessed day. Go ahead, comment, like, subscribe to the channel. And as always, I hope you guys are having a beautiful, blessed day. Let's get it.
Officials are still The search is on for the person who killed a man's wife on the road in Texas. The husband says it all started when another car was riding his bumper, so he flipped them off.
And he slowed down a little bit and shot through the back left window into the back of her head.
He says the person shot a couple more times and hit his headrest and windshield. And when he told his wife to call 911, he realized she was shot.
I need him caught. I need him prosecuted. I need him in prison. I need him to know he didn't just fire a gun into a car. He killed someone who's not like anyone.
The investigation is ongoing.
My condolences goes out to this guy right here and his wife and their family. Road rage is something that, a lot of people need to learn to slow down and to calm down and not be one of these type of people where he is heartbroken, whole family torn apart because of a stupid road rage incident that could have been avoided. Yeah, they shouldn't have flipped them off, but at the same time, what made them flip that person off, that he decided, you know what, I don't like how they're talking to me. So you felt like you was high power and wanted to make those type of decisions yourself. So hopefully the gunman or whoever is involved, the gun lady, gun man, they get captured, because this is someone who was loved and now they're not even here, and it hurt a lot of people like her husband.
As they walked in, they found Heidi lying on her back in the kitchen, her feet pointed towards the door. She had blood in her hair and on her face.
So we about to get into this crazy story about a husband who done some crazy things to his wife, but was trying to play like an intruder did it. So we about to get into some, something that sounds very crazy, but this content came from your guy, that chapter.
On her face. So this old one takes us to the year 2010, back in the day, to a house that was like right smack dab in the middle between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And it was on West Minnehaha Avenue. There, on a street that's about as American looking as it gets, lived the Ferguses. That was Nick and his wife Heidi. In the April of 2010, Nick, 27 years old at the time, and Heidi, 25, were happily living in a house in St. Paul. They bought their first home in 2007 in this nice, quiet neighborhood, having been married for a little over 4 years. They went to church, they paid their bills, they lived a simple life. So with that being the kind of people they were, the events of a Sunday in April 2010 were made all the more shocking. Early that morning, just before Nick and Heidi would have been getting up out of bed that spring day to go to church, well, a very different series of events would transpire. And it started out with 2 911 calls made at 6:31 a.m. But both, they hung up as soon as the operator picked up. Then, less than 30 seconds later, a third call was made from Heidi's phone to the 911 operator. And she said, over the phone, someone was trying to break into their house. The call didn't last long and Heidi sounded very, very scared. She was breathing heavily and she just gave her address on Minnehaha Ave when there was a bang and a scream. 911 tried to call her back twice, but the calls went straight to voicemail. Officers were already on their way at that point, but then another 911 call came in about a minute later. It was Heidi's phone once again, but this time it was Nick on the line. The police arrived while Nick was sobbing on that call. At the house, the front door was slightly ajar, and entering the home, calling out, they could smell gunpowder in the air. As they walked in, they found Heidi lying on her back in the kitchen, her feet pointed towards the door. She had blood in her hair and on her face. She was already gone. Nick was beside. sobbing uncontrollably. He had been shot in the leg, and on the ground nearby was a shotgun. Nick's shotgun.
Man, that's crazy. So the wife's on the ground, dead. He's shot in the leg. His shotgun on the ground. We about to see exactly what he's talking about.
The door, the bottom of it was covered in pellets from a shotgun round. Nick said that while they were waking up early that morning, one, possibly two, people broke into their home. It was an apparent burglary. Nick, he woke up, he heard noises coming from the front door, down the stairs. He got the shotgun out, lock and load, and then him and his wife, Heidi, they tried to escape the house, which, was the right thing to do. Just get out of there. They were going down the stairs, and they were trying to make it out to their garage where their car was, so they could flee the home. When, as they were walking, Nick, he got jumped by an intruder. They wrestled over the gun. This guy was able to overpower Nick, reef the shotgun off him. Heidi was shot. Nick was shot. Nick was then taken to the police station and was able to give a more thorough account of the events that morning. There wasn't really much.
So this story still don't sound right of why he did what he did to his wife. Like, first you got 2 mortgages on the house, ain't paid on the mortgage. Then the shit get taken, you lying, like, you know what I'm saying? Your grand folks going through it, Now, your wife dead. When you supposed to be getting the foreclosure, stuff and stuff. See, I'm doing that because I'm trying not to curse, because I'm trying to work on not cursing so much, and and shit like that. So, but his story definitely don't sound right. I still don't understand why he did what he did. But I'm gonna shut up. We're gonna watch this thing and try to get as much info as we can.
Morning. There wasn't really much evidence, though, to go off. I mean, the way Nick was telling the story, the intruder barely got into the house. They barely got through the porch before they encountered Nick. They jumped him, then they booked it. And there was no history of violence. I mean, as I said at the top, they were nice, lovely young couple. They were both heavily involved in the church. They both ran their own youth groups. If there was anything, it was that they were maybe just a little bit behind their bills, just like a tiny bit. That's it, really. Well, by little, I mean like a lot. Literally, the very next day after this incident, on the 26th of April, they were about to be evicted from that house.
You guys aren't behind in the bills or anything?
We are behind in the bills, which is a little stressful. In fact, we were planning on moving tomorrow.
Moving where?
Well, we hadn't figured that out yet. We were, and this is a hard place for us. We foreclosed on our house.
They had purchased that house back in 2007 for $215,000 with 2 mortgages. The last time they made a payment on either of those 2 mortgages was in September 2008, a year and a half before April 2010. Nick had been served with foreclosure documents 1 year before, and in June 2009, the house was sold at auction. So they were being evicted from this house, and in fact they were supposed to have been evicted earlier in April, but Nick, he contacted the law firm that was essentially, saying that his grandmother, she was in the hospice, she was dying, and so the eviction then was delayed until April 26th, the day after Heidi was killed. Now, that was a lie. Neither of his grandmothers were in the hospice at the time, and in fact both lived through 2010. Nick was released by the police, and Heidi was laid to rest, after which a sketch was done of who this attacker was. So police were a little bit curious about old Nickerino and his story. Well, for a start, nobody saw anybody out in the house early, running around the neighborhood early that morning. The dogs didn't trace anything. And money troubles can often lead to bang-bang. Over time, the hunt for this guy remained and went nowhere. The case, it went cold. Like straight out of the oven into the freezer cold. Now, new investigators, they took over the case and they thought it odd. Maybe worth re-examining. For example, if there was an intruder breaking in that day and Nick had a fully loaded hunting shotgun, he tells a story that Heidi went down the stairs first.
Are you going first down the stairs, or is she behind you, or is she in front of you, or what?
She's in front because I'm kind of trying to move her along quickly.
Yeah.
And then I'm right behind her.
Yeah.
Why would she go? Is this like Operation Human Shield? In the 911 call, apparently Nick and this intruder were struggling over the gun literally right behind Heidi, when in the background You can hear nothing. In fact, Heidi doesn't sound like... She sounds scared. She doesn't sound like, oh, my husband and some strange guy are fighting 2 steps behind me.
Minnehaha, Avenue. Minnehaha, someone's trying west. Somebody's trying to break in her house.
She does sound terrified but not horrified, if that makes sense. The FBI, they did a digital analysis of the scene. Nick said that when he was struggling with this guy, the gun went off at chest height, hitting his wife. But from the angle of Heidi where she was shot, it must have been like at shoulder height, as in someone was aiming the gun at her. Maybe somebody who would have been following Heidi. Oh yeah, I'll be right behind you, I'm following you out right now. And then, I mean, you've got a guy whose literal job, who's specialized in cleaning up. He might be, pretty good at, an old crime scenerino, getting rid of that. Nick lied to everybody, and he feared that if it all came out, that he would be abandoned by everybody, by Heidi, by his family, by his friends. His reputation of this good, old, nice guy, good neighbor, goes to church, helps out with the kids, so many people can look up to, that reputation would be gone. So they said, killed his wife. The jury found Nicholas Firkus guilty of the murder of Heidi Firkus. Nick was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
That's kind of crazy, but as you can tell, they have all the tools they need to figure out if you a story fabricated or bullshit or whatever they do to figure it out. And evidently, if this is how she got shot, this is something you did. It ain't like an intruder really came in the house. The dogs didn't go off. You know what I'm saying? They ain't even tracking nothing. They stayed in the house because you and her was the only one in the house. So with her being on the phone, how she was talking, she didn't sound terrified, none of that. We didn't heard 911 calls of somebody banging and pounding on the door trying to get in, and they was super terrified where the husband shot one of them. So it's a good thing he got what he got, and he got what he deserved.